I'm Randy Haley, and my dad, Floyd Haley, was killed in the line of duty back on August 6, 1967. This was at the recreation bowling lanes in Rochester on North Broadway. This is just on his regular route, so he wasn't expecting any problems. He just kind of came across and saw something going on over by the door. And so I believe he got out of his car and went over there, and they kind of jumped him. There's three of them. Took his gun, because they had a gun on him, and then shot him and took off. Again, I was just 15. It was pretty, it was hard growing up. I was the youngest. I was pretty dependent on my parents. To have him gone all of a sudden, yeah, you're just missing a piece of you. My dad just loved being a regular cop. I don't believe he really worried about the dangers of being a police officer, like my mom I'm sure was, and his kids, but he just went about his business, and he was pretty solid, pretty strong.
I'm Bert Berg. I'm a retired Olmsted County Deputy Sheriff. I worked with Jack Werner, who was murdered on May 17th, 1977. He'd been killed out in the Apache Mall area. He told some friends that night, or the two occupants that were in the car, that when he went out that night, he was going to kill a cop. That was his mission for the evening. The car he was in had been doing donuts in the parking lot, and Jack, who was one of the officers that happened to be driving by on the highway, saw it, and he pulled into the lot to see why they were doing that. And when it happened, our understanding is that he got out of the back seat of a car, leaned across the hood, and just shot the officer. Back in them days, and as well as today, I think he would be a model officer. He's the kind of thing you would portray in the movies or something as being a real officer. He had a military background, which was real common in those days, and he still lived that way. He was spit shine, and everything was always just the way it should be when he came to work. If there's such a thing as being a positive thing with something like this happening, I think that it probably made myself and the rest of us better officers.
My husband, Chief Gregory Lange of Claremont, Minnesota, was killed in the line of duty on July 5th, 1988.
My dad, Gregory Lange, was killed on July 5th, 1988.
My husband responded to a domestic abuse call. The young woman, she was being pistol whipped, and the boyfriend stating that he was going to take her into a cornfield to kill her. There was a second man in the house who came out in the middle of my husband trying to stop the boyfriend from taking his girlfriend out. He hit my husband with a shovel and knocked my husband's gun out of his hand, and they grabbed the gun and shot him. It was devastating. I had no idea how to proceed.
When I'm starting to go into manhood from 12 to 13, 2 months later I turned 13 after he had died. But I grew up with a lot of anger. I'm blaming everybody for what happened, blaming myself. I blame my mom for a lot of things. You can't control my life. The normal teenage kid things, and then you put being just truly pissed off on an epic level at the world on top of that.
So my name is Jean Allen. I'm daughter of Douglas Clausen, Chief of Police, Hayfield, Minnesota. My dad died March 13th, 1999. His death was due to injuries that he sustained while he was working. Oh, he loved being an officer. It was like so important. We took great pride in just kind of being there, like being for the people. He wasn't always out to like try to, bust everybody, trying to nitpick. He tried to give people a fair shake. He loved being like that find that perfect balance. You know, he always tried to give people a chance. Kind of always looked out for the underdog. Some of the stories were funny.
I'm Sarah Meyer Westfall. My husband died in the line of duty September 6th, 1999.
My name is Joyce Meyer, and my son Jason Meyer was killed in the line of duty on September 6, 1999.
I was in Grand Meadow talking to him on his break, and he got the call, and so he took off, and it was my way home. And since it was my way home, I came upon the scene. And even then, his lights were still going. And since the lights were still going, I thought that it was, the traffic stop, that he was looking for the suspicious person that I thought he went for.
He was going on a call to help his friend in Racine, and he went around the curve too fast and lost control of his squad car.
And it wasn't until I saw the person in the gray Grand Am running towards him that I realized, okay, nobody runs towards a squad. That's when you realize that there's something up. Every aspect of our life and our families were affected by it because he was such a big part of ours. And our lives were shattered.
He was one of those officers that really enjoyed being around the young people and working with them, and that was his goal, is always to keep peace in the small town.
My name is Liliana Schneider. My dad, Sean Schneider, was killed in the line of duty on December 30th, 2011.
My name is Brittany Schneider. My husband was Officer Sean Stephen Schneider.
He went to a house in Lake City where a boyfriend-girlfriend were fighting. The boyfriend had a gun and was threatening the girl's life. And Sean and another Lake City officer interrupted that. And in doing so, Sean was shot.
As soon as I got the phone call and I had asked where he had been shot, I knew that it just wasn't going to be good. I felt it in my heart. It wasn't going to be good.
I was at school because we were in a lockdown, and my aunt came to the school and picked my brothers and I up, and she told us that my dad had been in an accident and that he was up at Mayo.
Initial thought was that this isn't good. I'm going to lose a friend out of this.
I had left his side literally 2.5 hours prior, and he was gone.
And losing him was, in that way, shook my core values, my beliefs, made me question whether being a cop is worth it.
He was my biggest idol. He was my hero. He was always there for me, and he was the first one that I would wake up to in the morning, and when I would walk to school, he was the last one I would say goodbye to.
I think it was the destruction of the life that the children and I and him had. I'm the one that's there to comfort them from nightmares. I'm the one that's there to answer questions about their father's murder. I'm the one to support them with just normal struggles, knowing that they have a heavier heart than most.
My dad absolutely loved his job. It was his favorite thing to do besides us, because at the end of the day, when it came down to it, we were his number one, and he loved his job and put his heart and soul into it, but his family was number one.